Myles Garrett, Kupp to the Titans. Let's talk about it next on Upload Live, powered by BetUS. Welcome to Upload Live. Here we go. We are on Super Bowl watch. It's Super Bowl week. Shout out to Round Table Sports, who are actually at the Super Bowl this week. I know they put a lot of hard work in. We saw those guys at the Senior Bowl. Shout out to them. Actually getting the Super Bowl credentials. Maybe next year, the Titan Upload Network will make it. Who knows? We'll see what happens. We had a blast at the Senior Bowl, though. We'll be talking about that more throughout the week and up until the draft. Shout out to DeMario. Says, tighten up. James says, just one pick won't fill the holes. We're kind of talking about the poll question, by the way. The poll question of today's show, and tonight's show, supposedly. And shout out to the Power Hour and Tyler for doing a great job. Over 4,000 views in the 6 o'clock hour of today's show. Over in the Power Hour, and they had a great show. But yeah, I'm asking you in the poll question, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the number one pick, obviously, which we have? Would you rather have Myles Garrett? Would you rather have Kupp? Would you rather have more picks? Can't have all of them, but you got to decide. And honestly, I think I'm going to go with more picks. So that's the one I voted for. As always, don't forget to tighten up that like button. It just helps the channel. I know some of you get all worked up about if we're shorts or we're full screen. Well, here's your opportunity because we're full screen right now. And I'm going to dive in to explain to you why I think the Titans, although it pains me a little bit to say this, why the Titans should pass on Myles Garrett. And why the Titans definitely should pass on Kupp. You guys leave your comments and let me know how you feel about it. Oh boy. ERTYU0078. Titans stink. They're never going to win a Super Bowl. Anyway, you had your chance a long time ago against the Rams, and you blew it. Well, that's one way to look at it. Shout out to our guy, Al. Thanks for being a member, Al. Give you a little love here on the channel. Al says, can't wait to see all the interviews you guys did. Go kick massive tail. Again, I don't want to make this show about the Senior Bowl and talk about the experience. I'll save that for another day. I do have, I'll just be upfront, I'll have a lot more content for members, specifically who've really invested in the channel. So I will be doing more content for the members, especially with what happen at the Senior Bowl, but overall we'll be doing a lot too. We'll just kind of go a little bit more behind the scenes with those guys. But it was a fun experience, man. I had a blast. Shout out to Mr. Producer and obviously Titans Rossi. Titans Rossi's just got an itch for it, man. I'll be up front. You know, he wasn't nervous at all. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. And he's just like, throw him in a forest full of guys. I mean, he's not afraid. You know what I mean? And I think some of this is like, wow, like you really haven't to interview all these guys, and you got to come up with the questions. You got to know who these guys are. You got to do a lot of research and study. So we met Broshmo down there, by the way. Shout out to him. And he puts a lot of hard work into it. We're trying to get draft_Brian out there because he puts a lot of effort into it too, and he'd be amazing out there. But shout out to Titans Rossi. And then, like I said, even my son, Mr. Producer, he was not intimidated at all. I think he did like the first couple interviews, and he got my guy Bryant from the University of Illinois, and he would just go up to dudes and didn't even know who they were, and he'd interview them and find out more about them, including the Memphis quarterback, which was freaking hilarious. Titans are going full rebuilds, or should, because Sean Fisher says they need to draft a quarterback and edge. We don't know what Titans going to do. And the Sport Legend says, how are you doing today? But I'm hanging in there. I finally got some sleep. As you guys know, Wednesday, after work, came back home. And again, I live about 40 minutes or so from work. So helped my wife with the kids. And then off we went, me and Mr. Producer, which we left around 6:30 Central Time. Picked up Rossi around the 2 o'clock hour in Nashville. And then arrived in Mobile, I would say pushing 9:30. So we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know the process. I'm freaking out. Because I was the one who did like camera stuff. I was more invested in the camera stuff. Rossi and Mr. Producer were more invested in studying their butts off to try to ask interview questions of this talent pool at the Mobile. I mean, the Senior Bowl, they were fabulous. There was a lot of great players there. I'm really hoping one of these guys that we interviewed gets picked by the Titans. But we'll see what happens, man. It was a blast, and then obviously had to turn around and drive back home. We did make a trip to New Orleans as well. I'll first start off with this. I know why, but every single person who comes available, it's like, oh, the Titans got to have this guy, or the Titans got to have this guy, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And, I mean, Myles Garrett, okay. I mean, he's a stud. Got the stats to back it up. Cooper Kupp, then, he wants a trade, or the team told him he's going to be traded. That came out a couple hours ago, so we got all that going on. It's like, oh, goodness gracious, what are we doing here? It's just a lot to take in. And, again, I just watched Jim Wyatt do a report because he's down there too, obviously, with the Super Bowl. And they interviewed a guy named Kyle Phillips. And I forgot about my guy, Kyle Phillips, who drove me nuts at times. Kyle Phillips blaming the injuries why he's not in Tennessee, not necessarily his performance or the amount of drop punts or how he failed as a punt returner, but that's besides the point. He's still a good dude. He's on the practice squad for the Eagles. So he may get an opportunity to win a Super Bowl ring, which is awesome for him. But I wanted to put it in context. So we're talking about anybody who becomes available, throw them on the Titans. I know why we do it. And I try not to get caught up in the moment as well. But this always doesn't work out. It did play a part into why John Robinson eventually was let go. Because when Julio Jones became available, at the time, that's typically the two biggest view portion here at the network. Okay. Pre-shorts was Clowney and that debacle. And the second one was Julio. And about 90% of Titan fans could not resist the temptations of both those guys. And we viewed them as key pieces. The only difference between then and now is we're the number one pick. We're literally the worst team in the NFL, and we have no quarterback. And right now we have no future. We got a new GM, and he's under Chad Brinker, and we could get into that fiasco. But for the most part, as you guys are aware, the hope of us being relatively good next year is probably not so much. And the hope that we figure this out is still a question mark. And when those teams brought in Julio Jones and they brought in, obviously, Clowney, the team was on the cuffs of winning or getting further in the playoffs or maybe even having a championship team. This is different. So in the chat, definitely let me know. Make a case for these guys because I'm making a case to stay away. Resist the temptation and don't fall into this again. And B says, hey, Upload, good to see you, buddy. Titans Rossi, shout out to you. Says that was a long drive, but definitely worth it. Top tier, thanks for being a member, buddy. Always appreciate it. Juan says they can get Garrett, but I'm not giving up my picks. Plus the Titans doing is moving down 1. Holmes says that's so cool that you guys went to Mobile, Alabama to check out some. It was fun. And if you ever have an opportunity, anybody, I recommend to do it. It was a blast, man. Yes, shout out to our buddy AP, and I get AP. I think it's you want. Nah, I'll hold off on his channel because I can't remember. I know there's a C in it, and there's I think a U in it, but I don't know. But here's the point I'm trying to make. Like, it's very structured, which is great. You don't get an overwhelming amount of time with these guys, but so many people leave after Thursday, mid-Wednesday, and they don't stay for the game. And I'll be honest with you, seeing everything happen at that game, okay, it was phenomenal. And then having an opportunity to go on the field. I mean, you guys don't probably know this because if you weren't there, but my kid was literally the first one on the field that when they were allowed to go on the field. And again, okay, Leonard was celebrating with his teammates, and my kid's trying to get him for an interview because he's one of the first ones down there. So again, that's a cool thing, but so many people leave. But if you get an opportunity, definitely got to go. MB is saying, what's up to Rossi, Miles, Sweat, Simmons, Carter? Look at that, right? Oh, yeah, it'd be amazing. Don't get me wrong. MB, don't forget. Oh, yeah, Vic Beasley. But I don't know. I mean, MB, you could tell me this. Thanks for being a moderator. Did you want Vic Beasley? Because, I mean, at the time, I was like, yeah. Because, I mean, he really had one decent year in Atlanta, and he was pretty much non-relevant down there, but was a household name. He obviously was drafted in first round, and a lot of people were excited about him in college, so you give him, then again, we did draft in the second round Kevin Dodd, and that was a nightmare. So, but yeah, the Vic Beasley thing was just weird, and then he went missing, and no one knew where he was, and the media kind of shelled up. They didn't want to ask him that question when they had him. Finally, PK did, but yeah, that was a nightmare. Yeah, Vic Beasley definitely robbed us. NXCUA say the Rams and Browns trade with Cooper and Myles. And shout out to Luke. So here's the deal. All right, as we're into this show and it's going great, do you want, and we'll definitely try to wrap this up in 25 minutes. Do you want Myles Garrett? Do you want Cooper Kupp? Now, I'm going to argue no for both guys, but again, I wanted to know what you felt like. And again, in the chat, there is an opportunity for you to have a poll question here. And the poll question, if I can find out, is who would you rather have? Number one pick, Myles Garrett, Cooper Kupp, or more draft picks? Right now, more draft picks is winning. Number one pick is right behind it by 10%. So 47% more draft picks. Nobody wants Cooper Kupp. 17% you want Myles Garrett. 37% want the number one pick, which we currently have. So I want to read some things to you. Don't forget to tighten up that like button. It just helps the channel. Here we go. This is Myles Garrett. We've heard his age. He's 29. I still think he's definitely capable. I'll argue he's still in his prime. This past season in 2024 for the Browns, he had a 92.3 overall score on Pro Football Focus. He had 14 sacks, which ranked him third in the NFL. He had 3 forced fumbles, which ranked him pretty high, actually, in the NFL. 56 hurries, which ranked him second. 83 pressures, which ranked him first. He's made the AP All-Pro team, first team, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Defensive Player of the Year in 2023. His pass rush grade this past season was a 92.8, run grade is 78.4. So on the surface, it's like, well, why don't you want him? And here's why I don't want him. His contract is one, and you don't have the key piece for anything right now. Now, you can argue, hey, you're going to draft him, but you're going to have to give up one. And there's been some A to Z Sports and some other people have put some things together, but they don't know. Nobody knows what it would take to land him. Now, if I'll put this out there, if the Rams offered you a 7th round pick, like I said, you give him a 7th round pick for Cooper Kupp, would you take it? I would be in the camp of, yes, let's talk about that. But Myles Garrett, if you can get him for a really good rate, a really good price, a really good kind of like, wow, what the Mavericks didn't do with the Lakers over the weekend, and you take advantage of the Browns in their situation because he's already come out and pretty much said he's done with the Browns, then yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett is a stud. He's a stud in Madden. He's a stud in real life. And just by going over those stats shows you like, dude would be phenomenal on this defensive line. And defensive lines, just ask the New York Giants, like could really be a game changer, especially when you get to playoff time and crunch time. But there was a game in 2021 when we were I believe it was the 2021 season, when we were the number 1 pick and our defensive line smacked the Bengals around, had 9 sacks. You could argue 11 sacks, 2 didn't count. And we still lost. And I still am bitter about that. And I still think that this would definitely set us apart defensively. But the offense is not ready. No matter who wants to make arguments, the team, this goes in my other. So my first point why I don't want him is the contract situation, because he's going to slam you. Just by looking it up, $19.7 million would be coming up this year, fine. 20.3 the next year, fine. 40.9 in his third year, which is ridiculous. He's going to want a new contract before then. So, and it's probably going to be Matt. This is going to be his last huge contract that he's going to sign. He's going to want a team to go all in. You also have the fact that he wants to play for a Super Bowl caliber team. The Titans are not one of those teams right now. Okay? I wish they were. You go to his agent and you're like, hey, I'm the Titans. I want to make a trade. They come back to you and say he's one of the, he wants to play for a great team. And you come back and say, and they go, well, where do you rank? And you're like, well, actually, you know where the Browns are right now? Yep. We're actually one space lower than that. Good grief. So now you got a disgruntled player. You don't want to come here anyways. It's the contract situation. We'll set that aside. Here's the ultimate reason, though, I don't want Myles Garrett. Okay? Here's the ultimate reason. I want them to do this right. You bring in Myles Garrett. What is everyone going to think? Be honest. What's everyone going to think? I fell for this last year. We brought in Snead. We traded for Snead. I was excited for it, guys. We got Snead. And I thought ran for a 3rd round pick. Yeah. Till I found out later that like nobody wanted him. At least no one wanted to trade at least a 3rd round pick for him, except for the Vikings did. And then they backed out because they were concerned about his knee. And what did we learn this past season? His knee was an issue, right? It didn't matter what they told you. It was an issue. And he hardly played this season. So you bring in Myles Garrett. You are signaling, you are lighting the flare off that you are going to make another push. This isn't like, hey, let's bring in Myles Garrett and let's do a full rebuild, because that's not in the cards. So the argument then would be, hey, if I want to do a full rebuild, which I'm going to raise my hand and say, yes, that's what I want from this Tennessee Titans team, then the fact is that's what I need. I need a full rebuild. And doing a full rebuild right now does not include bringing in Myles Garrett. It includes getting good picks, trading back if I have to pick up more picks, definitely not doing what A to Z wanted to do and give up a 2nd round pick and give up another round pick and then flip-flop 1 and 2. And I don't even think the Browns necessarily would do that. I mean, they're gonna ask a pretty penny for it. And that's where I am with him. You guys in the chat want him? Let me know. If you're watching this video later, comment below and let me know that you want him or don't want him. Let's see. Titans Rossi says, Titans trade always seems to be cursed. Do you want to throw Landry in the trade for Garrett? No, not necessarily, but I don't know, man. Landry's probably on the table at this point, too. MB says, I really didn't want Vic Beasley at all. Elena told him in December that they didn't want him back. My antenna went up. Good point, MB. Holmes says, I'd say you never can have enough draft capital. Juan says, A.J. Brown about to get a ring, and I hope he does. Titans for Life says, hearing the Raiders are interested in moving up to number 1, what would it take for you to trade back for the Titans? So that's 6. 6 is manageable. I'll be honest, it's manageable. It probably takes you out of the realm of getting Travis Hunter. It probably takes you out of the runnings to get Carter. If the quarterbacks do go like we think they're going to go, it probably takes you out of getting both of those quarterbacks. But you still could get a good player. And I know many of you would want the receiver from Arizona. I kind of shy away from that a little bit. But if you trade back to 6, you'll still get a really, really good player. But some of these people, like trading with the Cowboys and moving back, I mean, that's just something ultimately I don't want to do, because even when John Robinson traded number 1 to 15 for the Rams, he had to use some of that collateral that he got to move all the way back up to 8 to get Conklin. So my point is, if you could, and and you guys know this, the number 1 place I want him to get to trade with is the Giants, because I think the Giants, you're still going to get an elite player, and you're going to pick up some draft capital. You're not going to pick up a ton. That's what we hear with this draft class, but you'll pick up some, and I think it's well needed. What else is well needed is our friends over at BetUS. Check them out. This is the last week. I believe they're running the promo code YouTube150. I could be wrong about that, but don't take it from me. Just there it is. 150% sign-on bonus on your first deposit, 125% on deposits 2 and 3. But what's even cooler about BetUS, now that football season's been over, is this whole new casino feature they got going for you. And again, it was great in New Orleans. It was 72 degrees. But after watching the Mobile, after watching Mobile and the Senior Bowl, after walking around New Orleans all day long, going and just running around in a casino didn't sound too exciting for me. But what did sound a little bit more, hey, comfort in my own hotel room, just kind of chilling out, getting in my PJs, and going on BetUS to play some casino games. Now that, my friends, is where it's at. And they got all the cool games. You know what I mean? Slots, blackjack, whatever you call it. And they got promotions and deals all the time. So definitely head over to BetUS. Check them out. Make sure you're old enough. Make sure it's in the right state. But again, if you're going to act on that promo code with the sports section, and you got the Super Bowl and all the different props that you can bet on, including what color Gatorade, use that promo code YouTube150 for 150% again bonus on your first deposit. So shout out again to our friends over at BetUS. Now, gave you a little bit of why Myles Garrett is a no for me. Fabulous player, game changer player, X factor player if you play Madden, and definitely, like I said, elite player that would bring up your defensive line in a heartbeat. But I do think it signals that you're trying to win. And if you are going to do this and he wants to be a winner, you got to sell him. And I don't know how you're going to sell him on a 3-year rebuild. Maybe you sell him on the new stadium. I don't think he necessarily cares. But at the end of the day, you're going to be paying him a lot of money. And if quarterback is a direction they do not go in the draft, and they're going to spend a lot of money to bring in, oh my goodness, Sam Darnold, you're going to eat up that cap room real quick. And again, you've got a great player defensively, But Sam Darnold, I mean, honestly, is he your answer? Is he going to take you to the next step and where you want to go? Or are we going to have these like the Vikings did? You know, the last game of the year to win the division and win in the number 1 seed against the Lions plays terrible. Okay. Then you go into the playoff game versus the Rams and they get smoked out of the water. So again, do we want that here? We've already did that with Tannehill. And it wasn't good enough. You remember that? Number 1 seed, play the Bengals. Tannehill throws 3 picks. I mean, we've lived it. So my argument is, yeah, Myles Garrett's a great player. But heck, I mean, if you're giving up number 1, and let's just say you don't get number 2 and get it back. Let's say you get the Browns' 2nd round pick, even if I don't even know if they have one, but let's say you get that one. Now you're giving up a 1st round. No. So that's just them. Second thing, Cooper Kupp becomes possibly available tonight. That's what we hear. Now, the irony behind Cooper Kupp, definitely tighten up that like button if you haven't. It just helps the channel. Appreciate you guys. Cooper Kupp, 71.2 grade, Pro Football Focus, 710 receptions, 710 yards. I believe he had 67 receptions, 97 targets, 2 drops, which is good, 10.6 yards per reception, 110.8 passer rating when you threw his way, which is really, really good. Some of the issues with Cooper Kupp compared to Garrett is, yeah, he's even older at 31, but he's got a massive contract too. $20 million in 2025 and 19.9 in 2026. He's had 10 receptions in his last 5 games, including 2 of the playoff games. And in week 1, week 9, and week 11 were the only times he went over 100 yards. Okay? That's 3 times. And I believe from week 2 to week 8 or week 9, he didn't even play. So right now, I'm seeing on CBS, Steelers, Bills, Cowboys, Broncos, Ravens should be the ones that bring him in. Speaking of Myles Garrett, by the way, if you're really thinking the Titans will do this, they're not doing it. That's another reason I should have said why I say no, because don't even get your hopes up. Myles Garrett's not coming to Nashville. Titans Rossi said it on his X account as well. Right now, according to many different sites, Titans are plus 3,400. They are second to last, which means there's a bunch of teams at 3,400 and there's a few teams at 4,200. Everybody else is higher than the Titans. So when you look at that tier of plus whatever the number is, there's the plus 3,400, then it goes to plus 4,200, and that stops. So out of 32 teams, the Titans are almost on the bottom. So again, when people put their money towards stuff, this is one of those things like, yeah, if you want to shoot $10 or whatever to see if you hit, but they're on the bottom for a reason. And more Cooper Kupp too. Like, we've kind of been through this, haven't we? Bringing in these older wide receivers and they don't pan out. Tyler Boyd last year for the Bengals had 70. I thought he had 68 to 70 receptions. This year, I think he had 30? I mean, there were games where he would get 1 or 2 looks a game, let alone receptions. So but here's the irony behind Cooper Kupp. You take his 710 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, okay, his targets or receptions at 67. He's going to be ranking pretty high over in the Titans. Because if I'm going to look this up on the fly with Nick Westbrook-Akine, because many people believe that, you want him back to be your 3rd wide receiver, which is fine. I love Nick. This past season, Nick had 32 receptions, 497 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Played the whole year. Didn't miss a game, I don't believe. Of course, Will Levis didn't want to throw it to him the first 4 games, and it took week 4 at Miami on Monday Night Football for Mason Rudolph to come in the second quarter and hit him on his first pass for like 11 yards. But again, you got Nick Westbrook-Akine, Tyler Boyd real quick. Just to put comparison here. Regular season, he had 39 receptions, 390 yards. That's all he was able to muster this season. I want to make sure I got that right, so let me double check. But yeah, this season, 39 receptions, 390 yards, and no touchdowns. That was Tyler Boyd. We'll do one more. We'll do Calvin Ridley. Because I know Ridley did hit, 1,000? And I think we would all say that Calvin Ridley, for the most part, had a good season. 64 receptions, 1,017 yards, 4 TDs. So Cooper Kupp, in a smaller amount of sample size, had more receptions than anybody on the Titans. Would have been like second in touchdowns at 6. And my guess his targets would have been high up there too. And he probably had one of the lower drop rates. So on the surface, it makes sense. But again, that's why I'd entertain it with a 7th round pick. I am not entertaining any of that otherwise. The contract's way too high. You definitely have to rework that. But again, bringing in an older piece, what does it do for you? What does it do? Not much. So at the end of the day, I say pass on both these guys. I just do. I just don't think either one of these guys. Garrett is a stud, but like I said, you're going to have to pay him just fine. He's a great player. Signals you want to win now, but you're not ready to win now. And ultimately, like, I just feel like, again, he's not going to want to play here anyways, because you're not going to be able to win now. If you want to truly be successful, you can't have one foot in and one foot out like we did these past couple years. You have to either blow it up, start from the ground, and keep building your way up. I mean, and realistically, I think that's the only way you can technically do it. And I believe Chad Brinker, though I'm not really high on the guy, if he brings in this Green Bay model, that's what they did. And then they will sign every now and then a free agent, which I think we all agree we need a right tackle or a left tackle and switch them over to right tackle. But that's where I'm at. I know I don't make a whole lot of sense on Myles Garrett. I'm just telling you, you bring him in, you're going to have to pay him a ton. You're going to have to overpay him. And if you're not going to win, which I don't think we're going to win, then now you got another disgruntled player that probably is going to demand another trade. And that's where we are. Be French, upload your hey, appreciate it, man. Friendly Rival says, let's be real. Myles Garrett not coming to Tennessee. We would at least have to give up 1st or 2nd round pick. Can't afford. No, you can't. Myles Garrett, I want to compete for a Super Bowl. That ain't going to happen here. Steve, shout out for being a member, Steve. Rather sign Stafford than Kupp. Sport Legend, why do we always do this so late? I'm trying, but here's the deal. Like, I'm limited, man. I can't do it from my car. Okay? I can't do it from, going to, run around. I can't do it at work. I can't do it from my car. I got 4 kids. I just can't do it consistently earlier. I'd love to. And I know you're not like meaning it disrespectfully, Sport Legend. But then the other thing is, like, the thing that works really well lately, if you guys haven't figured it out, like, the shorts are working great for us. Shout out to Power Hour. I think he's he had 9.6 last week and 4 something this week, like 13,000 views in 2 weeks on his last 2 shows. Did great on the watch party. Like, that's kind of where we're at. So again, I know some of you were complaining about the shorts. So I did full screen tonight, and right now we got 30 people in here. Okay. So again, it's just, we're trying, and we're trying to do the best we can. Titans in truth, shout out to you, buddy. What up, Upload? Not giving up picks. Saw a mock trade for Garrett, and I felt like we were fleeced, and I agree with you. I don't want to be fleeced, that's for sure, and I got to do it the right way. Titans South, I hope the Titans don't screw themselves over in the draft. Ghost says, ain't no Stafford here. Get your quarterback, go from there. Garrett would hijack your cap. Bergonzi about to trade that number 1. Mitchell, if we trade for Myles, I would want some good picks. Nafio, what would we trade out for Garrett? I missed the start. What would we trade out? I mean, A to Z Sports was trying to put together a mock, and I kind of skimmed over it, but you get Myles Garrett, you get the 2 back, which I'm not really sure you're going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm not sure you're going to get that. I think ideally, hey, we trade back the 2, you give us Myles Garrett. I think 99% of you would do that. You're going to have to give up more. Okay. But for the sake of argument, they say you get two back. Okay. And I'm talking the number 2 pick of the draft. But then you'd have to give up your 2nd round pick and a few other picks. And I think they threw in some late picks or whatever. And that's and again, I don't think the Browns even do that. Now, you're going to get some other teams that are going to be able to come to play, like, as we mentioned, maybe like, for example, the Ravens. But what are the Ravens going to be able to give you in return? And the other thing with Myles Garrett is, if you really read between the lines, Myles Garrett's going to go to a team, I feel like, if he wants to get paid, with a quarterback on a rookie deal. That's where he'll go. So Washington would make a ton of sense. No, you want to hear it right now. The Houston Texans. Ton of sense to add him to that defensive front. Oh, my goodness. With Anderson, they would have a lot of studs on that defensive front. So, again, the Bears would be an option, I believe. Because, obviously, they're on any team that's not overpaying or paying these massive deals for a quarterback will be on the table if you want to pay Myles Garrett and make him happy. But that's kind of where we're at this point. Yes, we'll be having a Super Bowl watch party for sure. You're right. I'm not trying to be rude. And again, I wish I could go earlier. I wish I could be, because I feel like, and I've seen some others who got Super Bowl credentials, and I'll be upfront. We have better numbers than they do. Okay, we got better numbers than they do. Okay, whatever they're looking at. They're looking at subs. We got more subs than them. They're looking at views. We got more views than them. And they're over there right now. Okay. So if I had no job, sure enough, man, if my wife gave me permission to go on a plane to New Orleans for the Super Bowl coverage, we would be there too. But like I said, I just kind of limited in what I can do. And to be quite honestly, like, my wife gives me a lot more freedom with the 4 kids to be able to do a lot of this stuff. And I feel like I'm way more active than I ever been over the last 3-4 years. And I owe you guys, because you guys are awesome. Team leader says Garrett wants playoff team, and we're just not that. So again, shout out to our friends over at BetUS. Use that promo code YouTube150 for 150% deposit, or 150% bonus on your first deposit. In the comments, let me know what you would like to do with the Tennessee Titans. Are you taking Myles Garrett? Are you taking Cooper Kupp in a trade? Leave a comment post-show and let me know why you want these guys. Or if you agree with me and it should be just a hard pass. So, again, we'll leave you with the poll question real quick, too. I asked you real quick, who would you rather have? Number 1 pick, 39%. Myles Garrett, 14%. Cooper Kupp, 0%. Or more draft picks, 47%. I'll tell you up front, I would say more draft picks. So, you guys were great. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know it's late. But as you said, tighten up. And it's just another day. Another day of the Tennessee Titans not being in the Super Bowl. And it pains me. But I am excited for the game this Sunday. And it'll be fun. So hopefully you guys could stop by. Steven, number 1 pick all the way. I agree. AFIO upload. We love you, brother. And now that's a whole unit of fellas. Beautiful. And team leader need our draft picks. And again, I agree with you. So again, shout out to BetUS. You guys have a great one. Take care. Tighten up. Let me turn the movie thing on.